Hello and welcome to another episode of the Menswear Style Podcast, episode 37. I'm your host, Pete Brooker. How are we doing? This week, I'm going to be talking to the CEO and founder of Undandy, Rafic. He's going to be telling me about how he started his company, which is an online e-commerce platform that basically enables you to design and create your own shoes. It's pretty awesome. They are currently looking to raise about £1 million. In fact, they've already raised £1 million on Crowdcube, and what they plan to do with that money is take their business to the next level and buy out the Portuguese third-generation shoe shop, of whom are currently producing these quite wonderful masterpieces. I've seen them firsthand, so I can attest to the quality of their craftsmanship. Anyway, Rafic is a lovely gentleman. He spared me some time, and we went into the nitty-gritty, all of that to come. I'll also be speaking to Beck Loads, editor-at-large for Menswear and Style. She went to a secret event for Adidas down in Charing Cross, the same bit of underground where they filmed Skyfall, don't you know?
Train's leaving. Do I get on the train?
Don't get on the train, I'm not sure he's on it. Give us a minute.
Do I get on the train?
Bond,
What?
get on the train.
He's keen to get home.
We also take a look at what came out of the Audit Select Committee for Sustainable Fashion, which took place in Parliament earlier this week. And lastly, we look at some of the repercussions from the Dolce & Gabbana after their fallout with China last week. Whoa. Well, if you're going to hack into an Instagram account of one of the biggest fashion houses of our generation, wouldn't you, with absolute impunity, fire out a load of poo emojis to anyone and everyone? I know I would. Not the racist stuff though. I only send those from my private email server. So all that to come, but first make sure you're checking out the site www.menswearstyle.co.uk for all the latest news and reviews, interviews and whatnot. You can follow us on the social at Menswear Style. Find us on iTunes if you're not there already and leave us an honest review. But if that honest review happens to be one of an excoriating nature, why don't you send it to the rake where all the good reviews and emails go to die. I don't know what that means, but anyway, you can write to us, if you like, at info@menswearstyle.co.uk. And here is that interview with Rafic, CEO of Undandy. It's my great pleasure to introduce to the podcast now Rafic Daud, co-founder of Undandy. How are you doing today, Rafic?
Hi, Pete. All good. Thanks for having us here.
Brilliant.
Absolute pleasure.
Fantastic. Rafic, please, before we get into the Crowdcube fundraiser that you've actually already had a successful crowdfunder, I believe. It's already reached its million capacity. Before we get into that, could we just have a little thumbnail sketch of who you are and how you started the brand, please?
Oh, absolutely. So long story short, my background has always been working with fragrance and cosmetics. That's pretty much what I did all my life. I've been involved both working on a corporate level in 5 different cities in the world and countries, to actually founding a couple of companies. The main one in Angola in Africa, which grew to be the largest sub-Saharan retailer for fragrance and cosmetics. That was back in the days. I mean, eventually then I moved back to Portugal, which was hometown for me, by the way. I was born and raised in Lisbon. Moved back to Portugal in 2011, approximately 2012. At the time, I was doing a bit of novel writing and going into other ventures. From there, I was mostly involved in property. And 2014-15, I started dabbling with some startups. And I thought, you know what, property is not as challenging. Well, it's a great business, but it's not the most challenging business. You're buying yields, and it's an Excel spreadsheet. I thought, you know what, I want to get back into the game again. So I started investing in a few startups. One of them being Undandy. So I was actually the first investor in the company. So co-founded it from day one.
Okay, and how was this opportunity presented to you? Did you happen to stumble upon it, or were you approached?
Yes, so a friend of mine approached me, who I've known for many years, wanting to gather my insight on a potential business of doing custom shoes. What do you think about it? And I'm like, man, that actually could work. I mean, I'm a guy and I can hardly ever find the shoe exactly as I want it. Customization was a growing trend in many sectors, not just shoes, not just footwear. A big fan of bespoke and sartorial products. So you know what? Why not do it for shoes? I didn't see a reason as to why it shouldn't work. Especially being based in Portugal, which is probably one of the best countries in the world to craft these type of footwear. We have the best artisans. We're mainly exporters. We don't have many brands, but we manufacture for all the big high-end brands that you'll name it. The odds of them being crafted in Portugal is pretty high. So the skills were here. It was just kind of creating the business model that could make sense.
The website is fantastic. I was just going to ask about that because it seems like the hardest thing to do. I come from an e-commerce trade and I've set up an e-commerce website before. But the bespoke element, having so many customizations, I think you've got like over 150 billion customization options.
Yeah. 156 billion last time we counted.
Thank you. So how do you manage to condense all of that optionality into a very usable platform that doesn't kind of convolute the whole process for people and put people off?
No, it's actually one of the challenging processes. In all fairness, it's not as complex as it seems, because what we do is work from 3 base lasts that each last then derives into approximately 25 models. And then the rest is just cosmetic in the sense that you choose the leather, you choose the color, you choose the sole, you choose the stitching, but let's call it the base product is the same. So it was kind of simpler. We just had to create a 3D designer that would be user friendly, and it's still work in progress. By the way, we want to improve that substantially. That experience I've already seen. The version 7.0, and it will be much better. So the challenge was just pretty much replicate what the car industry did. I mean, nowadays everyone selects every single detail in their car, from the stitching of the seats to the leather to the color of but the base product is the same. You're still buying the same car. It was just creating that online designer in a way that could be user friendly and applying it to footwear, obviously.
You have a lot of other bespoke. Obviously, you got bespoke suits. You can make your own T-shirts these days. You don't often hear about it in shoes, if at all. Was there anyone else around about the time when you were putting this together that was doing something similar?
Yes. So when we first started looking at the idea, we kind of looked around the market to see if there was anyone doing it. You obviously have the traditional bespoke shoemakers, the likes of John Loeb and so on and so forth. But here we're talking about shoes that go for a couple £1,000. They're not affordable to the common person like myself at the time. So we looked online. There were a couple of companies offering similar, not to the extent that we do, but kind of somewhat some customization, some personalization. The only thing is they were offering it in 6 weeks. That we actually have a story. So when we started looking at the business, we started ordering online from these companies to see the product, the quality, how it would work, the experience. And we ordered from one of them. We decided to then go ahead with the business and go forward. We already halfway through the process when the product came. 2 months later. I was like, shoot, forgot we had ordered this. So they were offering it, but usually at very lengthy time. The time frame was not ideal, let's say. So one of our challenges was not so much on the user interface element, was on the production element. Can we deliver this in a timely manner that it's consistent with nowadays needs? People want things now as soon as possible. So the biggest challenge was, can we do this in 2 weeks? And that much we've managed to do, and we're actually working. We're going to go into the crowdfunding in a second, but we're now working in our first capital raise. We haven't raised any capital. We haven't worked with any VC firms and none of these companies. We're not one of those companies yet. Not necessarily going to be, but the biggest challenge now is we want to bring that down from 14 days to 7 days, and we think it can be done. We know it can be done. It's just a matter of executing it now.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Crowdcube fundraiser campaign that, by the way, is still live and people can still invest in. I believe the ambition will be to acquire the third generation shoe manufacturer, the factory there that you're currently producing there. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that, please, for us?
Absolutely. So, we started off by being a brand, creating a brand online and then selling our products online. we obviously had a workshop to craft our shoes. We had to select the workshop. That was probably the biggest challenge of them all, because although we are sitting in a country that exports 2 billion of footwear a year, I mean, shoe manufacturers like to do 10,000 brown shoes and 10,000 blue shoes. That's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to do unique shoes, one at a time. And that was a bit of a challenge. So we found a workshop, a small workshop, third generation business with the craftsmanship, with the know-how that started working with us. Now, first we were doing 100 pairs a month, then we were doing 200 pairs a month, then we were doing 500 pairs a month, then we're doing 1,000 pairs a month. Now we're doing close to 3,000 pairs a month. And this type in just 2 years, and this type of growth, we kind of started pretty much being like controlling the whole production. I mean, and if we want to keep on scaling, which we know we have a product that's scalable and can keep on growing, we really had to control and be fully vertical. One, obviously there are economies coming from it, from the vertical integration, but that's not even the main rationale. The main rationale is by tweaking the production specifically and exclusively for Undandy, we'll be able to bring that lead time from 14 days to 7 days, which is a big plus. We'll be able to launch new models, new colors, more frequently, more often. We will be able to integrate consumers' feedback into our production process very swiftly. We're a digital native brand, completely in contact with our customers, and be able to have this feedback integrated in production. So we need to be fully vertical. And we thought, you know what? The best way to do so is to acquire our current manufacturer, which is already crafting our shoes, and we'll build on top of that.
So it's already successful. There's already been over 1 million raised with, still an extensive 20-odd days left on the campaign. What can someone get now if they choose to invest in you guys? Say I've got my tenner here, Rafic. I'd love to put it down with you. What could I get in return for my investment?
So you will get, we will accept, so our minimum raise was £1 million. We will accept, we will continue accepting additional cash at the exact same terms. So everybody will get the exact same terms as professional investors will get. There's no, the rationale going with crowdfunding was, you know what? We have a product that works, that customers love it. And this is not me saying, this is a repurchase rate of north of 45% in 2 years saying it. So people love it. We just need to get more customers on board. So we thought, you know what? Let's get this crowdfunding going on first. Instead of working with professional investors, let's work with the ones who are really building this brand, with consumers, with customers. Let's get them integrated. And not only we will be able to have more brand advocates, which is at the end of the day what we're going for, we will have people, talking about our brand. So you'll obviously get the exact same matching terms that all the investors are getting in Undandy, myself included. The only difference is you become a part of it. And you know what? Let's build this brand to a massive success.
I'm wondering, would you consider coming and having bricks and mortar? I don't think you have bricks and mortar already in London, do you? I mean, you got Jermaine Street, you got St. James, home to all of John Lobb and all these wonderful craft shoemakers we have here in the UK. Would you not just be able to kind of somehow sit in between these giants here in the UK?
It's something we can definitely look into the future, so I won't say no. Right now, to be honest, I mean, we've been growing pretty fast. I mean, we went from revenue of 2 million last year to north of 4 million this year, growing more than 100% year on year. And this is with a very short period of existence and doing it solely and exclusively online. Now, bricks and mortar is a different challenge whereby we have to split our margins. So the way we can be competitive in our pricing is by cutting out all those middlemen. We don't have retailers, we don't have distributors. We direct straight to customer and talk with them. If we go there, either we do it directly to be able to guarantee the same price levels, or there might be some consistency. It's not something we're saying no to, but it's not something that I foresee in the near future. Near future being the next 12 to 18 months.
Rafic, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. If people want to check you out, then it's obviously undandy.com. There's still time to invest. Like I say, get involved and become part of the journey here. I had to go on the website, and I should say from a personal point of view, it's a lot of fun to start with. When you're on there, you almost feel like now you're in complete control of your own destiny. And one of the biggest problems I have, not with the site, but with shoes, is I really like shoes, loafers, trainers, etc. But the midsole I often find with these shoes are white. And because I'm quite pigeon-toed, I am constantly cleaning the white on the midsole. And to the point where I say to my girlfriend, is it worth me just getting some black paint and just painting over the white so I don't have to spend every morning with a toothbrush and the shoe in the sink trying to get the scuff marks out? So finding your site is actually a revelation. So it's definitely on the wish list. Rafic, thanks again for your time.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Rafic. Before I introduce Beckloads, why don't I tell you about the other podcast I have going on called From Tailors with Love? That's right, a podcast that completely disseminates the style of James Bond with all the latest news and all the brands in the James Bond universe. With my co-host, the editor of the Suits of James Bond, Matt Spacer. Here's a clip.
I don't think that this underwear collection is aimed towards the Bond fans.
What I will say about these pants, Matt, if you have a tendency to maybe leave the odd indiscretion or skid mark in your underpants, then these pants have a colour palette that starts from a very forgiving place, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it certainly does. It's hold on, I have to sneeze. Oh shoot! Oh my god.
So once again, that's From Tailors with Love. That can be found on Stitcher, Spotify and iTunes. Now let's catch up with the one and only Beckloads. Well, I'd like to welcome back to the podcast Beckloads, editor-at-large for Menswear Style. How are we doing today, Bex?
I'm good, thanks, Pete. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine and dandy. Or fine and undandy. Good one. Good one. That's why I get the big bucks. Bex, what has been going on this week? What have you been up to?
Actually, this week I went to a very creative, very cool event from Adidas. They're very good with their events, actually. They always do something a bit different. And this time it was, I guess, to sort of launch it was to launch the second part of their collaboration with TfL. But I think it was the first big sort of press event that they'd done, and I think they'd invited fans of Adidas and things like that. But it was brilliantly done, and they've launched, I think, 6 new shoes as part of this collaboration. They'd already released 3, which is up on Menswear Style. I'd written a little piece about that last week, I think. Mm-hmm. So that was the first one, and this one's another 6 shoes, I believe, which I think are going to be released. I think beginning in a week's time. I think maybe the 8th of December, something like that. And basically, they took over an unused platform at Charing Cross Station. And they turned part of it into like a news agency. So you'd go in and you'd get your ticket and you get a brown paper bag you could fill with sweets and crisps and cans of Coke. Really well done, like visually really well done. And then you'd go through the turnstile, you'd go down the escalator, and there was an empty tube train waiting there, and there was just music playing. There was a great brass band, sort of rap band playing, which were awesome. I think they're called Dat Brass or something. They're really cool. And then there were shoes there to have a look at, and were gifted, which was very nice.
Oh, Beckloads, what have you got?
I've got a new pair of shoes, Pete.
Let's have a look. Oh, never mind.
And they sort of, each shoe has got a different tube line on. So I've got the Victoria and Waterloo and City line. So so there's like different colours on the back of the shoe and down the side of the shoe. And I think there were 3 different style of shoe. So it was very cool event, very well done.
Really cool. So TfL, for our American listeners, is the Transport for London, right? So yes. What is Adidas doing? How come they're associated with the Transport for London? I'm not joining the dots.
Yeah, it's quite a random collaboration. I don't actually know the exact relationship, like how they came together, but the idea is to, I guess, to keep, obviously, Transport for London, one of their taglines is to keep London moving, and everyone's moving, walking in their shoes, and they are celebrating the 15th anniversary of the Oyster card. So it's kind of a whole celebration of that. So they're looking at each tube line, the colours, and I knew about all these sort of secret platform like underground, unused stations and things, but it's pretty amazing to go down there. There was no one down there, sort of, going through the massive crowds, and then you go through a door and there's another escalator, and it's really cool.
No, it is good fun. So Bex, before I introduced you, we spoke a little bit about the Commons Environmental Audit Select Committee, where they hauled out Primark, Boohoo and Misguided, brought them in front of the gallows, threw a load of custard pies in their face and said, "What are you doing? Selling £5 dresses. What are you doing? You barbarians." So here is a clip that will hopefully put it into some context. Here is Carol Kane from Boohoo talking to Mary Craze, chair for the Environmental Audit Committee.
They're called loss leaders in a business, and actually it's your overall basket that becomes more profitable as a result. So we do not make profit on a £5 dress.
What would you be buying a £5 dress for then?
Somewhere between £2.50 and £3.
How can you buy a dress for £3 when the minimum wage in this country is £7.83?
I think we have to go back to the type of product it actually is. The dresses, which are, and there's only 80, which are £5, are very simple. There's no zips, there's no buttons. They generally are shorter length dresses. They're made largely from a polyester elastane fabric. So it's the entry price point for us. And really, I would consider them the making, the actual manufacturing skill required to make these dresses are very, very simple. So it's not a complicated dress, which I understand if you related the times, the minutes spent to actually produce one of these dresses.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm glad they're being called out. That's a very good thing. I just wonder, how far it's going to go. What are they going to do about it? It's great talking about it, but we need action. I'm glad they're definitely calling out. I mean, Primark, Boohoo, Misguided, they obviously, not a lot of people can afford, high-end fashion and things like that. So, it's great that we have fashionable retailers there for people who can't afford, £100 jumper or whatever. The only problem is that it's mass produced and there's just too much of it. And because it's cheap, the MPs are saying, you're producing something at such a low cost, people don't care about it, they don't respect it, so it's just being thrown away. Why do we need to have a dress that's £5? And they've come back and said, I think, was it Primark or Boohoo have come back and said, we don't actually make any profit off these £5 dresses. They're just a
loss leaders, as they're calling them.
Yeah, just to get people to come to the website. But why do we need that? We don't need it. Get rid of it. You're a big company. I don't think we need that.
They're not really apologising for how shit their clothes are.
No.
In any way. They're saying, look, fucking these clothes are dirt cheap. It's all polyester. Takes 2 minutes to make. £5, done and done. What's the problem? Come on, let's go get lunch. Talk about wildly out of control, Bex.
Yes. The other end of the spectrum.
What the hell is going on? I mean, I guess it's last week's news, but it's probably the big talking point.
News, yeah.
Dolce and Gabbana have just dropped the ball in China big time, right?
Oh, big time. I mean, this isn't the first time for them either, to be honest. But yeah, this time not good. And I think they're in a real pickle here because they have a huge market out in China. They've got, they've got 44 boutiques out there, and people are standing up, which is good. And basically, this whole issue started, if you don't know, it started out. They were having a fashion show, due to have the best show or the big show in Shanghai, and it ended up being cancelled because they released, I think, 3 videos, which were, people are saying, it's cultural appropriation. They had a Chinese girl dressed in a Dolce & Gabbana dress, who was struggling to eat pasta with chopsticks, and making a joke out about it. And not pleasant, really not very pleasant. And yeah, people stood up, and they also then found a racist conversation over Instagram, I believe, or Twitter, with some really nasty words that were said from Dolce & Gabbana. I think it was a private conversation, but it got pulled up. and they claimed that their account was hacked and that it wasn't them, and they shut their social media down, and came out and apologized for it. But people stood up and the show got cancelled. Models pulled out anyway and said they want nothing to do with them. From this, now retailers have pulled a lot of their clothing and wares off the shelves in China, and people are really boycotting the brand, and it's a big problem.
Okay, a couple of thoughts. First off, the advert, I think it's an attempt at humour that is just not funny. But when people say they're outraged, they're never outraged. Everyone's just waiting to be pissed off. Everyone's just waiting to be righteous. A Chinese lady with a pair of chopsticks struggling to eat a pizza, I just think it's somebody's shit attempt to have humour. Now, the differences between people coming out and trying to do humour these days is you have a backlash of people that are just waiting to be pissed off. And you have a very sensitive culture, which is Chinese, that is deeply sensitive, way more emotional than probably any other culture. You can't put your feet on the table anywhere in China. Feet are offensive. My point is, you'd have, say like Bob Hope back in the 40s and 50s would walk into a ward with amputees. He would have to do a stand-up routine in front of everybody in this hospital, and he would say as he walks in, "All right, lads, don't get up." Now, if that was nowadays, Bob Hope would be ran out of town, for that sort of rhetoric. But do you get what I mean? So the kind of goalposts on where the comedy has moved. Yeah. So what Dolce & Gabbana should really do, now I'm assuming they do all their PR in-house, but they should just have a PR team that is indigenous to that country where that marketing is going on. So if they've got a Chinese PR team that are overlooking and scrutinizing every advert, which they should be doing because they've already fucked up in China like a few years ago. Something came out.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So they should have noticed then, right? Okay, let's not fuck up this time again. I want every advert and every post to be absolutely forensically scrutinized. I don't want anyone to take a risk on any kind of humor. By the way, we have plausible deniability because you, as our Chinese marketing agents, will be doing a joke about your culture. So we get to own the joke. So anyway, those are my kind of scatterbrain thoughts.
No, I agree. I know what you're saying, and I think that's true. People, I think, especially nowadays, want to jump at something, like any opportunity to kind of maybe cause a bit of a drama and things like that. I think because they're such a huge company and they have had problems before, and I think obviously within the fashion industry, there's been other sort of key moments of racism, like John Galliano and things like that. I think people, will want to pull it up, and it should be pulled up. If there is stuff like that going on, absolutely pull it out. I don't know whether there needed to be such a furore over the videos. I think, you touched on it there, that maybe it was a joke that went a bit wrong. But the comments that were said, I think, in their messages, I think were perhaps the darker side, and to blame it on hackers, I'm not sure about that.
And poop emojis.
Yeah.
Oh, no one dare send anyone a poop emoji.
No.
Well, the whole thing with the private messaging is like, well, if you guys have been hacked, why are you doing it? Why are you doing private messaging? Surely if you hack into something as big as Dolce & Gabbana, you put the biggest and most outlandish hero post on their page and just post a picture. You wouldn't just go to the hassle of hacking into an account like that just to send a private message to someone that is semi-inflammatory. You'd just fucking go whole hog, wouldn't you?
Whole hog, yeah. Yeah, you would. Bit of a mess.
It is. Well, poor old Dolce & Gabbana.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just so much money in China. The reason why this is going to hit them massively is because the luxury end goods market is hugely funded by the Asian communities, and if e-commerce sites like Alibaba that look after all these sites over in Asia, and if you go on these websites now, they're not selling any Dolce & Gabbana on their platforms.
There was a good article, I think, well, actually there's been a few, saying how it has pointed out like the importance of the Chinese market and how if they do lose, if people do genuinely boycott them over there, how much money they'll lose. I think they were saying it's over 20% of their value, which would be pretty massive. And I guess it's a warning to other brands, to be honest. But yeah, you do not want to mess with them, that's for sure.
Yeah. I digress massively. Bex, it's been an absolute joy. Where can people find you?
Beck Clothes, Instagram.
Great. Well, and I will see you tonight.
Yes.
At the Vulio Bloggers Award.
Yes.
I can't wait to shake everyone's hand and say how wonderful their blogs are. Okay, I better go before we peel the scab off that. Yeah. Take care, Bex. Until next time. All right, bye-bye. Thank you to Bex for coming on. Thanks to Rafic from Undandy, and to you, the listener, for sitting idly by and doing nothing. Don't forget, all the show notes will be uploaded to www.menswearstyle.co.uk. That's the place to go. Until next time, remember, it's only fashion, people, and you're never fully dressed without a smile.